Fatima, okay, I get it, you got somewhere, but what would you do if you were starting from scratch today? And it hit me why so many sisters feel like they're doing something, but nothing feels stable. Who do you serve? I'm going to give you 3 internal shifts that I've seen make the biggest impact. So with only strategy and no mindset, what happens? You'll post, but hesitate. You learn, but not apply it properly. You'll start, you'll stop, you'll restart, and slowly you lose trust in yourself. The right things in the wrong order makes everything feel harder. And one day you sit in front of your computer looking at your payment dashboard and it still says $0, but you feel like you've been working intensely for months. If you don't know the correct next step, you'll default to the most visible step. Okay, what's my strategy? A framework to help Muslimah entrepreneurs do the right thing in the right order, because money likes order. If you're a Muslimah thinking about starting an online business, or you already started and you feel like you're kind of circling, then this video is for you, because this will probably save you months, if not years, of confusion. There's a very specific pattern I see over and over again with Muslim women who are capable, sincere, and trying to build something halal. They start, they stop, and then they restart. And each time they restart, it feels heavier than before. And the reason is simple. Nobody ever sat them down and showed them the order things actually need to happen in. And when there's no order, everything feels confusing, even what feels like the right actions. So that's what this is. Not motivation, not do this one trick. This is me walking you through how a real barakah-filled and profitable halal business actually gets built from the inside out. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the actual order things need to happen in, mentally and practically, for a faceless halal business to work. And when I say work, I don't mean viral. I mean steady, consistent income that fits your life, your deen, and your values. So by the end of this video, you'll walk away with 3 things. First, the internal groundwork that needs to be in place before you even start to think about tips, tricks, or strategy. Secondly, why business feels confusing or heavy when things are done out of order, even when you're trying your best and you're feeling like I'm really doing everything right. And thirdly, a simple way to building this properly, without guessing, without restarting, or constantly feeling behind. So this is the exact sequence that I use with my private clients, and the same sequence that I used in my own business to scale past 10K months. So by the end of this, I want you to be able to look at where you're currently at and say, SubhanAllah, that's why I kept getting stuck. That's the part that I skipped. And this is what I need to focus on right now. That right there, that can wait. So let's jump straight into it. So the other day, I was walking through Cairo and I was watching all the new buildings go up, half-finished ones, sand and dirt everywhere. And it hit me why so many sisters feel like they're doing something, but nothing feels stable. Because what they're actually doing looks very much like an Egyptian construction site. And for those who knows, it doesn't look pretty. It's like trying to build a house where one week you're laying part of the foundations. The next week you decide to work on part of the roof. And the last week you paint a wall because at least it feels productive. You're exhausted because you've been working constantly, but nothing feels solid. And this is why I always start here. Not with content, not with Instagram, not with what should I sell. Because if the inside isn't settled, you will not stay long enough to actually see anything compound. Now listen, I'm not going to walk you through some mindset talk. I'm going to give you 3 internal shifts that I've seen make the biggest impact, especially for Muslimas building something halal, something faceless, and long-term. So write this down. Shift number 1 is what I call the student loop. Learning feels like progress, right? Now let me describe a sister that I see this with all the time. She's sincere, she's intelligent, she's hardworking, but she's been in what I call preparation mode for ages. She has 400 saved posts, 17 tabs open on her computer, 3 full notebooks, and every time she learns something new, she's like, okay, Bismillah, now I'm ready. but still, she doesn't move. She doesn't take action to implement. And that's because learning can honestly feel like and be a way of avoiding the part that feels like exposing, actually doing the work. Doing is where you risk being awkward. Doing is where you risk being ignored. And doing is where you risk finding out that your idea really wasn't clear yet. So your brain starts saying, okay, let's study one more week because it feels responsible, it feels safe, it feels organized. But in the end, it is a trap, because if information alone was enough, we'd all be millionaires just from Googling our way to something. Now, I can probably find right now a video online of how to conduct a brain surgery, right? And I can watch it repeatedly while taking all the notes on the details that I observe. Or I can actually step into a surgery room with actual surgeons, observe and partake in an actual brain surgery, and get feedback real time from actual surgeons. So I can either watch from afar and take notes, or expose myself to the actual battlefield. Now, which one of those two approaches do you think would actually give me results and progress the fastest? Now, learning gives you the feeling of motion, but only doing and executing gives actual motion. So if you want to ask yourself this, and I really want you to write this down, grab a notebook and a pen and write this down. Where am I collecting information instead of collecting feedback? Because business does not reward prepared. Business rewards in motion. Learning in motion and adapting in motion. Which brings me to shift number 2, taking the sabab, which means the means. Now, this is very important for Muslims. I meet sisters all the time telling me that they've been making dua for years. I want to make hijrah. I want financial stability. I want barakah in my time. I want to build something halal. I want more time with my kids. But very little changes. And I say this with love. Dua without action is not tawakkul. Tawakkul comes after taking the sabab, the means. Now, even the scholars of the Salaf didn't sit around waiting for certainty before they acted. They would travel for weeks, sometimes months, across the desert for a single hadith. They didn't know if they would even reach the destination. They didn't know what would happen on their travels. They didn't know if they would make it back alive. But they still took action. Then they relied on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you're waiting to feel fully certain before acting, you'll wait forever. Now, when I made hijrah alone as a single mom, I didn't know how things were going to span out. I didn't know that everything would go as I'd planned. But I still had to make the conscious decision of taking the physical act of buying the plane ticket, of packing my stuff, of heading towards the airport. And it's the same with business. You don't know with certainty what's going to happen around the next corner. If things are going to happen the way you plan, the way you desire, but you still have to take the sabab, the mean. And the means of achieving the goal might be getting a coach that has taken the path before you, joining a specific program, or starting to post consistently on Instagram. Now, uncertainty is not the opposite of tawakkul. In many cases, uncertainty is part of tawakkul. But think about it like this. As long as your intention is tied to the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you're not failing anyways. If you're making the intention of starting a business to be able to facilitate for hijrah, then whatever comes your way of challenges, you will be rewarded anyways. And you're taking ajr anyways. So I want you to ask yourself this question. What are the asbab or the means that Allah has placed before me that I keep skipping because I want to feel certain first? And what is the door I need to step through right now in order to actually make tawakkul? Now, for shift number 3 in the last shift, who do you really want to become? And the third shift is about investment and identity. And when I say investment, I don't only mean money. I mean your time, your effort, your focus, and who you're deciding to become. Because the way you treat your business reflects how real it feels to you. If it's just a side hustle, it's something on the side, you'll make side level decisions. And well, side level decisions, they get you side level results. At some point, you have to ask yourself, what do I really want to get out of this? And who do I need to become in order to make this work? Real change doesn't come from information. It comes from deciding who you are. The sisters that are moving forwards and seeing massive results in their businesses, they are not more confident. They are more committed. They decide that this matters and they act accordingly. So if you want to become the Muslimah who has a profitable digital business, who makes hijrah whenever, to whatever she wants, who makes Umrah on a casual Tuesday because money isn't a problem, then you have to ask yourself, who do I need to become in order to achieve that? And what kind of actions do I need to make today in order to achieve that? Now, here's why I'm spending a lot of time on this in the first place. Because without these three things in place, no strategy can help you, no tips and tricks. There's a famous saying in business and entrepreneurship which goes, it's 80% mindset, 20% strategy. Now, let me give you a famous story to exemplify this. At the Battle of Badr, the Muslims were about 313 men, poorly equipped, limited armor, limited weapons, no expectation of full-scale battle. The Quraysh, however, they were around 1,000 men, better equipped, more experienced fighters, confident, even kind of arrogant. So from a pure strategy perspective, the numbers were against the Muslims. The equipment was against the Muslims and the experience was against the Muslims. If business was only strategy, Badr shouldn't have been won. But the Muslims had certainty in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They had unity of intention. They had willingness to obey leadership. They had emotional discipline and acceptance of outcome. It was the state of the heart, the mind, and business is no different. Most people don't lose because of the strategy, because the tools were wrong. No, they lose because they break formation when pressure hits. So with only strategy and no mindset, what happens? You'll post, but hesitate. You learn, but not ever really apply it properly. You'll start, you'll stop, you'll restart, and slowly you lose trust in yourself. So if this feels like something you can really relate to, don't judge yourself. Just do the useful thing. Pause for a second and write this down. Am I in the student loop? Am I skipping means asbab because I want to feel certain first? And am I treating this like a side hustle instead of something real? Circle the one that feels the most true to you, because once these are in place, something changes. You stop asking yourself, what should I do today? And you start asking yourself, what am I actually building towards? And that brings us to part number 2. Now, let's talk about why doing the right things in the wrong order makes everything feel harder. So you decide you're ready to start. You say Bismillah. You feel confident this time around. You're going to build your halal digital empire. So you go online. You're super excited and optimistic. Finally, alhamdulillah. And suddenly, you're drowning in advice. Niche down says, no sis, don't ever niche down. That's a stupid idea. Post daily says, no sis, you should protect your energy. Build a community. No, focus on email. You should only do low ticket, sis. No, says high ticket only. And you're sitting there like, okay, but what goes first? So you're starting to doing a bit of everything. You feel like you're busy, but not grounded. And here is where the months disappear. And one day you sit in front of your computer looking at your payment dashboard and it still says $0. But you feel like you've been working intensely for months. Now, why does this happen to so many sisters? Because it certainly isn't because they didn't do anything or even bad things. But what they actually did was doing some things, but out of order. Everything feels equally urgent. So you start focusing a bit on this and then a bit on that. And one day you wake up realizing you haven't even built the foundations of the house yet. Now, here's the simplest way I can say this. If you don't know the correct next step, you'll default to the most visible step. Now, let me repeat that. If you do not know the next right, correct step, you'll default to the most visible step. And the most visible step often is post more content. You've heard that, right? To which, if you have not built clear foundations of your business yet, including your unique positioning and the messaging around your positioning, you'll confuse and lose your audience even quicker. Now, let me say that in a language that everyone can understand. You're saying the wrong sentence to the wrong person over and over and over again. That posting more just means that you're repeating the wrong sentence louder and on repeat. So I want you to pause right now. Write this down and ask yourself, what have I been working on first? Was it content? Was it branding? Was it learning? Was it posting? Was it reels or that cute logo or a name or maybe a new bio? Now ask yourself, was that the correct step or just the step that looked like business because I kept seeing everyone else doing that? Which brings me to the 3 ways order usually gets mixed up by sisters. Now write this down. Number 1, speaking before deciding. Let me tell you what this looks like in real life. A sister posts for 3 months. Good posts, pretty posts, pink posts, helpful posts. She gets mashallah, Allah barik comments, barakallahu fiki, it was so beneficial, sis. Some people save it, some people like it. Then she asks me, Fatima, my content does really well, but why am I not making sales? And when I ask her this one question, she can't answer it clearly. I ask her, who do you help and what do you help them achieve? So the content becomes performance instead of communication. And when it doesn't convert, she starts blaming the Instagram algorithm. But it's not the algorithm, it's your lack of clarity. Your audience has no understanding of how you can help their life get better. And let's be real, you don't even know either. So until you get crystal clear on who you help and what you help them achieve, posting content is just wasting energy. Which brings me to number 2. What should I post? Instead of what does she need to hear in order to move? Now this is where your messaging either prints you money or it doesn't. Content is not about consistency. Content is about messaging. It's the bridge between she's scrolling and, wait, subhanAllah, this is so me. If your messaging isn't anchored in a real problem, you'll get engagement, great, but you'll still stay broke. No sales. Because attention without direction just becomes entertainment. You'll look at your content and think, well, people are engaging, so clearly something is working. And you're not wrong, something is working. It's just not the thing you think it is. Because if your messaging isn't anchored in a real problem, what you're really creating is an agreement. People read it and think, yeah, that makes sense. Then they move on with their lives. There's no movement where it turns into, oh, I actually need to do something about this right now. So you don't lose them. You just never give them a reason to move towards a purchasing decision. And that's why you end up with engagement, but no sales. Point number 3, switching direction too fast. You're trying something here for a bit and then there. It feels quiet, so why not pivot? Why not try something new? You try that for another 2 weeks and you still don't hear anything back. So you see this other sister doing something that seems kind of cool, so you jump on that trend. 2 new weeks of silence and you start doubting everything. Silences does not mean that you're wrong. It usually just means that you're early. If your direction keeps changing, your effort keeps resetting. It's like you're trying to dig a wall, but every time it gets hard, you move 2 meters to the left and you restart. And when you keep restarting, you never stay long enough to learn what's actually working. So I want you to ask yourself this. What direction have I actually stayed in for a full season, for a full year? Now, some of you are sitting here thinking, Wallahi, Fatima, I did everything. I tried the tips, the tricks. I watched endless videos on how to grow my business. I read books even, and still I felt like I was walking in sand. So let me jump straight into why effort still does not stack and compound, even if you sincerely tried. Now, if you feel like this, it usually comes down to two things. Two places where effort leaks instead of compounding. The first one being that feedback comes too late or not at all. When you're building something alone, everything happens in your head. You post, it's quiet, and your mind starts filling in the gap. Feedback shortens that gap. So instead of randomly guessing, you're adjusting. And for conscious sisters, this is huge because without feedback, business issues turn into an identity doubt. You start doubting yourself. So instead of thinking, okay, my messaging needs tweaking in these particular areas, you start thinking, oh, maybe I'm just not made for this. No, that's not the problem, sis. The problem is that you are building without mirrors. Which brings me to reason number 2. Consistency through the quiet phase. Now, consistency isn't just posting daily. It's building when it feels quiet, when it feels kind of slow. The sisters who build something stable aren't louder or more confident. They just stay with support, with structure, with guidance, and with accountability. It's easy to prepare for a marathon on paper, right? But once you hit the tracks and you start hitting 10 kilometers, you feel like you want to just pass out and give up. You need someone by your side pushing you through, motivating you, telling you what to tweak. Should I speed up or should I slow down? Now, anyone who has given birth really knows what I'm talking about here. So let me ask you, have you ensured that you're getting feedback and encouragement through this marathon? Which brings me to a question I hear all the time. And this one is super interesting because I keep getting asked, Fatima, okay, I get it. You got somewhere, but what would you do if you were starting from scratch today? Now, if I was starting from scratch again today, knowing what I now know, here's exactly what I do. I would pick one real sister that I actually understand, not a niche brainstorm, a real person. And I would pick one problem she's currently already complaining about without me having to educate her first. Then I would do the most boring thing to make money. I would talk to her, I would test the language, I would test my messaging, I would test the promise, which is my offer, and I would see what she reacts to and tweak accordingly. And I would get feedback early. Then I would stick to that for a full season, for a full year. Not because it's perfect from the get-go, but it's pointed, it's directed towards a particular outcome. That alone puts you ahead of most people. So now let's finally jump into the practical structure. Exactly how are you going to structure this? Because once direction is stable, feedback is present, and you're staying consistent, the next question becomes obvious. Okay, what's my strategy? Do you remember how I previously said that I asked this Muslimah entrepreneur who she serves and what she helps her achieve? Well, over the years, I've asked that question quite a lot, and 95% of the time, I get an equally disturbing answer. So I realized that I had to come up with a framework to help Muslimah entrepreneurs do the right thing in the right order because money likes order. So I developed the MAP. M-A-P. The first M stands for market. Who do you serve and what problem do you help her solve? Now, most sisters really can't answer this. They'll say Muslim moms or homeschooling moms or women who want to improve themselves. Now, sis, that is not a market. That's kind of like a hashtag or a mood. Let me show you why this matters. I want you to imagine two sisters. One sister is a homeschooling mom. She's exhausted. She feels guilt and she's super worried about ruining her kids' education and hence their future. Sister number 2 is a woman in corporate. She's doing fine. She's just super bored and burned out and wants more freedom. Both are Muslimas, but they are completely different. If you speak to Muslim women, you end up sounding like a motivational quote page. But if you speak to one real season, one real problem, your messaging lands like, how did she know that? I had a sister tell me, Fatima, I think my niche is Muslim women. So I asked her, okay, which Muslim woman? The one panicking at 2 a.m. because her kids won't sleep and they really need to be up at 6? Or the Muslim mom who's looking for productivity tips to manage her corporate career while having kids? She stared at me like, oh. And that oh was the beginning of her money-making journey. So write this down. One sister, one season, one problem she wants to solve right now. Now, A stands for approach. Approach basically is your offer. How do you get her from her painful situation over to her desired outcome? And most people don't really have an offer. They have a topic, a passion, or a bunch of nice ideas. But people do not buy nice. People do not buy informative. And nobody buys, I'm passionate about this. People buy solutions to problems they already feel. Now, let me make this practical. If your offer is basically, I teach Quran, or I help Muslim women, or I coach Muslimas on mindset, that is not an offer. That's a category. An offer is who you help, what problem you solve, and what outcome you help them get, and the mechanism of how you help them get it. Now, I once asked a sister, what do you sell? And she said, well, I have a lot of value. I said, that's amazing. But what do you sell? And she said, I do sessions. I said, okay, cool. About what? And we went back and forth in like 5 minutes in circles. And that's exactly how your audience feels when they land on your page. Confused people do not buy, they scroll. Now, in this video, I don't have the time to teach you exactly how to build an offer. But if you want the exact steps of going from, I kind of have an idea, to Alhamdulillah, I just launched my first money-making offer, then check out my 21-day offer challenge in the description below. But in this video, I am going to show you what must be true for it to actually sell. What needs to be true for your offer to actually sell? So write this down. 1, a clear promise. What changes for her and why is it important? Number 2, proof. Why should she believe you? 3, a simple plan. Basically, how are you going to get her from point A to point B? If somebody can't explain what you do in one sentence, your offer isn't clear enough. So write this down. If my best client described what I do to a friend in one sentence, what would she say? And ensure that you have control over that. Now, the last P is the P of positioning. Why should I go with you when there's like an ocean of other people out there? Positioning is why she chooses you over everybody else. And this is especially important when you're private, when you're faceless, when you are a Muslimah. Because you cannot rely on pastel color logos, cute carousels, or pretty reels. You're not trying to be louder. You are trying to be clearer. Positioning is the difference between, oh, that's nice, and where can I buy? Where do I sign up? Now, a sister recently came to me saying, sis, Fatima, there's just way too much competition. And I answered her by saying, no, there's too much sameness. Most people sound interchangeable because they never decided what they stand for, who they're for, and what they are the obvious choice for, and also who they're not for. Good marketing is attraction and repelling. Now, positioning is not pick a color palette. It's owning a lane. When you're positioned properly, you do not need to convince anyone. You just need to be seen by the right person. So now that you actually have your market, you have your approach, you have your positioning clear, this is where social media finally starts to make sense. And I want to say this super clear, because people make this way harder than it needs to be. Making money on Instagram is not difficult. It only feels hard when the foundations underneath is shaky. Because when you know who you're speaking to, what you help them with, and why you specifically are the right person for that, you're not scrambling for ideas anymore. You're not guessing. You're not posting just to post. You are just communicating. And this is where most people go wrong. They think that social media growth is about attracting as many eyes as possible. More views, more followers, bigger accounts, more money. But that's not true. Most businesses don't grow from eyes. They grow from people who are ready to buy. And this is something I see a lot. I have sisters come to me with 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers plus, and they're so frustrated. They'll tell me that I don't know what's going on with my account. I don't have the right audience. Muslims don't buy, and Instagram just doesn't work for me. But when I look at it, it's clear. It's clear what's happening. It's not the audience. It's not the algorithm or anything like that. It's the messaging. Because what they've built is an audience that's there to watch, not an audience that's there to decide to make a purchasing decision. And this is where following big accounts can be really misleading. A lot of sisters look up to big creators and they think that if I post like her, I'll make money like her. But a big following does not mean a profitable business. There is a huge difference between being a content creator and being a business owner. Content creation on its own, it can be fun, it can be creative, you can feel like you're productive, but it's completely disconnected from revenue. Most creators online don't actually make money. The percentage is very, very small. It's because they're creating to be liked, not creating to lead someone towards a decision. So if you've decided what you actually want, you want to post because you want to have a profitable business, then you have to take a particular approach. Now, what I see over and over again is sisters saying that it's because they create content to be liked, not content to lead someone towards a decision. So you have to decide what you actually want. Do you want to post because content feels nice to make? Or do you want to build something that pays you consistently? Because those two approaches are very, very different. Now, what I see over and over again is sisters staying what I call content creator mode. They copy what other creators are doing. They chase following. They optimize for saves, for likes, for comments, and they stay broke because they're treating Instagram like a stage instead of a storefront. Now, when you approach social media as a business owner, the question shifts. It's no longer, how do I get more people to see this? It becomes, who is this for? And what decision am I guiding them towards? Now, when that is clear, everything else is simple. You don't need music. You don't need to overshare your life. You don't need to show your face. You just need to speak in a way that makes the right person feel seen and understood. That makes the right person think that you have the solution to their problem. And that's the difference between attracting attention and attracting buyers. Most sisters never learn the distinctions. And that's why they stay stuck copying creators instead of building a profitable business. So I want to go back to what I promised you in the beginning of this video. I said that by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what kind of internal groundwork you need to reset in order not to always keep restarting. Secondly, I said that you'll walk away with why business feels heavy, and that's because you're doing things in the wrong order. And lastly, I said that I'll teach you a simple structure to building a profitable business using the MAP. And if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Most sisters don't need more tactics, they need the right order. So if you're watching this thinking, Fatima, mashallah, I get it, but Fatima, I really don't want to spend the next 6 months guessing my way there alone. Then this is the part where I tell you exactly what we do inside the Muslimah Business Accelerator program. The MBA program is for the sister who's done with the second guessing, who's done saving posts, done rebranding and restarting, and she wants a guided path to a real offer, to real messaging, and to real sales, consistent sales, in a way that fits her deen and her life. Now here's how it works. We get your market locked in, one sister, one season, one problem. We'll build your approach and offer that actually sells because it solves a real problem. Then we dial in your positioning so that you stop sounding like everyone else. And then we set up a simple path to leads and sales without the kind of cringe marketing. And the reason our program works and has gotten sisters from all over the world amazing results is not because you just get more information. It works because you get feedback early, the right structure in the right order, accountability through the quiet phase, and someone who will not let you drift into random tasks that don't make you money. Now, if you're not ready, no pressure. Take what you learned, apply it, and stay steady. But if you're ready and want my eyes on your business, the next step is simple. There's a link below where you can get more details and apply if we have spots open. And if it looks like a fit, our team will reach out to you with the next steps. And that's it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in what you build, and may He make it a means of khair for you and your family. Ameen.